This is the Get Psyched Podcast or the Get Psyched YouTube channel, depending on how you're listening to this today. We are doing another episode of the Let's Talk Health series, and today I'm joined with my sister, Crystal, to talk about our thoughts on the health industry, what health is, and just generally talk about our obsession with health. So, Crystal, can you say hello for us?
Hi, everybody.
So I just wanted to start off by letting you free flow it. So I just want to ask, what is your definition of health, and what do you think of the health industry as it is right now?
So for me, health is more like, there's like the mental health and the physical health. And I feel like mental health is just as important as physical, but it's not like focused on. But I feel like health is like however you feel best, not about being the most toned person in the gym, the biggest person in the gym, the strongest person. So what's healthy physically and impacts your mental health. Because if you're always focused on being like the fittest person in the room, you're never going to be happy mentally, and but I also feel like if you're not healthy physically, that also gives you a negative impact on your mental health. So I think that's important that you think about both when you think about health. And I think that's the biggest problem with what I see in the health industry, because I feel like health industry is more focused on body image, like how you look versus how you feel. Like a lot of the things that I see are like, oh, this is to make you like small, or this one will make you like, if you're a dude, like they want to be bigger. So I feel like the health industry focuses more on like a look and aesthetic versus how you feel inside, which is why I feel like a lot of people go against the health industry, because they're like, oh, it's all focused on just an image versus how you feel. And I think health is more how you feel versus how you look.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I think that health is when you do right by your body, which is going to be different for everyone. But if you don't feel good, then like, I don't know, you can't really consider yourself healthy no matter what the aesthetic appeal is. I totally agree with that. And that goes into like what I was going to ask you about next, because we talk about this a lot. When it comes to like the fitness industry and influencers and all that, there's definitely a difference between like an influencer and someone who's trying to educate. You know?
I agree 100%, because that's how I categorize it. I was like, there's the educators, and that's more of the channels that I watch that bring the science behind it and also logic, versus the influencers who are like, use my supplement or use the supplement that I'm promoting to look like me, when genetically they know that that's how their bodies are genetically, that they don't work for it. They just look like that. Even, they're not eating 100% right. They're not training 100% right, because you can tell by the way their muscle is. I mean, if you're not someone who's really into the health industry or like being healthy, you're not really going to recognize that. So I feel like they trick people, versus educators are like, you can have all these things that you want, but you need to do it in moderation, and you need to focus on like over time. Like, it's not going to happen in 2 months. Like, you can't be like, oh, I have a vacation in a month and I want to have a six pack. That's not how it works. And that's what influencers, like they said, they influence people. That's why they're called influencers. And they influence people to think like, you can look like me. All you need is this. All you need is that. Like, you need something that they're promoting, versus, hey, just spend maybe 4 or 5 days in the gym and moderate your calories. Figure out what works for you. It's going to take a couple of weeks actually for you just to figure out what's going to work for you. And then you have to stick with that for a couple of years just to get the aesthetic or whatever look you're going for.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point that you bring up, that like there are people who aren't in the health industry or they're not into the health world as much, that like seeing this kind of information, they don't know that kind of difference when they go into it. Like if you're into the health field, then yeah, that there's some people who are spreading like very targeted information. They're trying to get you to buy their products. They're trying to get you to do what they do. They're not really defining health. They're just trying to like, I mean, I don't like the term diet culture at all, really. Yeah. I don't like what it insinuates, but in a sense, they are pushing towards trying to get people to diet and to do things that aren't making a healthy lifestyle, as opposed to educators who are trying to teach people to live healthy. And I think like that's just so detrimental, because for someone who doesn't understand the health industry, who's not in it the way we are, like obviously influencer information is easier information. It's easy to say like, yeah, just go out and only eat like saltines for a week, than it is to try and educate someone on how to actually work out and fuel their body. So I feel like people fall into the trap of influencers over educators because it's the easy access information. And that's what people are looking for. Most people who are looking to get healthy, they usually aren't trying to get healthy. They're just trying to like get smaller, and they're going to take the easiest and fastest information that'll come their way.
Yeah, I think when people look for advice, they're not really looking for count your calories and 4 or 5 times a week do weights and some cardio. Like, people don't want to hear that because it's harder, I guess. Like, they're like, oh, that's too difficult, I can't fit it into my schedule. But I was like, I work 40 hours a week and I still manage to do it. I know if you have kids and stuff, it tends to be harder, but there are ways around that. Like, you don't have to lift weights if you don't want to. You can just go run in your neighborhood. You're going to see a difference in your body and how you feel. And also, like, I feel like people don't focus on, they're like, it's too hard to eat healthy. But I was like, you can just literally add broccoli to a meal, or just stop drinking as many soft drinks or juices and drink water. Like, it's small things that add up over time. But people, I feel like, want like the fast edition of how to do things, because like you said, they're focusing on being smaller and like they want, or bigger depending on the guy, and they want like a fast result. Like, you can't just do things fast because it's not going to last, and then you're going to be even worse off when you relapse and go back to however you were before. And it's just going to be like, that's why I think, I don't like the term diet culture, but I think when they say diet culture, that's what they're referring to, is that these people do these quick fixes, like they like to say, and then they're like, this is too hard, it's too difficult to maintain, because it is hard to like not eat junk food all the time if that's all you eat all the time. Like, you need to, like, you can still keep it, but like start working towards like small goals, how to get like more vegetables in, or how to like stop drinking as many soft drinks or juices, whatever you're into. And I think that's what people don't want to hear. So that's why these influencers, because they're getting paid a lot to promote these things, they just push that, knowing that the way they look is mostly genetic. Because there's a lot of, like, genetically, I can't get as big and as muscular as some of these other women I see, which they look amazing, but I'm like, I know I can't do that. Or it's going to take me at least 5 to 8 years to get that big, especially because I can't eat as much as some of those people can. So I think it's just, you have to take into account like each individual. And that's why influencers don't want to make like modified things, because they know the truth is that every individual is different. So you have to like speak with every person just to give like accurate information. But that's why I like the educators versus the influencers, because at least the educators do tell you that like everything is individual. Like, test things out, figure out what works for you, but just focus on like writing down what you eat maybe, and seeing like one of my favorite people to watch, Michelle McDaniel. I love watching hers because she talks about like, you know, like if you're just starting out, like just write down, see what you're eating every day. You don't even have to do the calories, just see what you're eating, and you will notice there are just a couple of things you can change, and you're going to see a difference over time.
Yeah, and Obese to Beast talks about something really similar, because like, you know, like you said, like people who are influencers trying to give out this easy information, they know that this stuff, it's not the full truth to tell someone like, oh, you should do this, like this is the quick easy fix, because a quick easy fix is not going to be a permanent fix. It's not going to be healthy for you, and it's usually temporary. So like these educators, they're trying to teach people the slow, steady lifestyle approach, which I know a lot of people hate to hear that. Like, it's become a cliche at this point to say like lifestyle change, but that is exactly what it is. You have to change your lifestyle. You can't live the same lifestyle. But like Obese to Beast talks about how like, to most people that sounds really terrifying, because like they imagine that tomorrow they have to wake up and eat carrots and go for runs every 10 seconds. But like, it really is the slow, steady like progress. Like, he talks about the common sense diet a lot, where most people who are really like unhealthy or very overweight or just like struggling with health, usually they're doing a lot of things that they know, like common sense wise, aren't good. Like, they're drinking a lot of soda. Like, you can get rid of soda easy. They're eating a lot of fast food. Cook a few more meals at home a week. Like, just slowly change it. And it's very like, a lot of people do kind of, I understand the way that influencers work. Like, they know that people want the quick fix, but with the educators doing the slow and steady approach or whatever, I totally lost my train of thought. I don't even know what I was going with that. But the whole point is that like with the slow and steady approach, yeah, it's usually like, I'm going to have to edit this somehow because I don't remember where I was going with that at all.
No, I get what you're saying, is that they're more like because they know people don't want to hear that. Also, lifestyle change has become sort of, I guess, kind of, I'm not sure if it came from the body positive movement, but like that became kind of a cliche. They're like, oh, a lifestyle change, like that's just basically another term to be like a diet, but it's not, because I eat pretty well Monday through Thursday. I'm not saying I eat like trash the whole weekend, but I relax a little bit more. And on Fridays is usually my most relaxed day, but like the weekends I also like find ways to make the meals that I like, but make it lower calorie and healthier, that I know is sustainable over a long period of time. And even people who are trying to transition, I guess, to eating healthier, one of the big things is just like find a way to make your favorite meals at home, because if you make it yourself, it's obviously going to be less sodium, it's going to be less cholesterol, less calories overall. You just have to figure out a way for you to modify it. Because I love eating out because it's easier, and sometimes you are just exhausted from your day, but that's why we take Sunday, meal prep what we can for lunches, and then we make simple things for breakfast, simple things for dinner, and then the weekend we like enjoy it because we have more time to relax and to cook. So I just think you need to figure out a way, like, how can I fit this into my schedule, because everyone's different, everyone's busy, everyone has different schedules, and not everyone can stay at home most of the week and just cook. I mean, obviously right now it's a little bit different because everyone's stuck at home, but most of the time, most of us are out and about and have a lot of things to do. But if you work towards it and you take your time building it, that's why it says a lifestyle change, because you're working towards making that how you always are. You get used to it after a period of time, just cooking it yourself and doing everything at home.
Yeah. And it's a lifestyle change, but the way I like to hear it, like my favorite thing, and I think Swole Enormous preaches this a lot, is mentality is so important when you go into this kind of thing. Because a lot of people, they have a bad mentality when they go into it. And if your mind is like not with what you're doing, if your mind's not in the right place, no matter what it is like with your life, you're not going to be successful. It's going to be really hard and difficult. If you go into something with the mentality that like, yeah, I'm going to have to restrict myself and I'm never going to be able to eat things I like, and it's going to be gross food all the time and I'm going to hate working out, the lifestyle change, you're not going to want that lifestyle. Yeah. And it's going to be even harder. But if you can make the mental shifts before you start, or like ideally it's while you're doing it, but you want to change you want to make sure your mentality is proper when you're going into this kind of thing, because your mentality is going to shape the whole thing, right? If you're obsessed, if your mind is just like, I need my body to be this perfect way immediately, then you're not going to try and do the lifestyle thing. Because you are completely right. Like, when you see influencers, and some of them, like some influencers, yeah, like their bodies, their genetics, they're a little lucky, or some of them are enhancing and not talking about it. But there are some people, like you said, Michelle, who they are very open about the fact that, yes, I know it's frustrating to hear this, but it's going to take years for you to get where I am, because it took me years to get there. And it's so real. Like, me and you both know this because we both have been on this journey for a while. Like, we look at ourselves now and we're like, wow, we look very different than we did when we both started this a long time ago. But it did not happen overnight. It took like 6-7+ years to start seeing that real progress that people want to like, or expect to see in like a year.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that, because like even a year ago, I was probably the same weight I am now. But I train now with my husband, and it's been like over a year we've been training together, and he trains heavier weight, and I already see a shift. I mean, obviously I'm not as muscular as like I would like to be in the future, but I obviously know it's going to be years in the making, and I haven't been doing it as long as everyone else has. Even if we're the same age, it doesn't mean that we're going to look the same just because we're both training the exact same if they've been doing it for 5 years and I've been doing it for 1. But I think that's another thing people don't realize, is that obviously it's going to take time, but you're not going to look like the person right next to you, especially even if you're the same age, same height, like similar backgrounds. You're not going to look the same if they've been training for 8 years, you've been training for 2. Like, it's just impossible to look like that. And I also like that Michelle McDaniel talks a lot about her background. Like, she used to be chubbier, and it's been like, I don't know how long she's been training. She says, but I don't remember. But like, I believe it's like around 8 or above that years. And it took her a while to get there. And I like that she like motivates people to be like, okay, I've been doing this for a while, but I'm not where you are. But she's like, okay, but you need to work longer. You need to, like, she also does say, like, you need to lift heavier. And I think people don't realize that. They get nervous because they're like, if I lift heavy, I'm going to look like a guy. But I'm like, obviously not, because I've been lifting heavy for a year and I still like am trying hard to get these gains to go, man. It's like, and you also got to focus on, like, you got to eat a lot to get that big. So just don't worry about that if you're worried about that at all. But I like that people talk about that, because it's definitely, I mean, I've been the same weight throughout my life, like up and down, but I've been the same weight that I am now a couple of times before this. And I always look different because it definitely depends on like how you're training and also how you're eating.
Yeah, no, totally. I completely agree with that. And I think that's like something that's so harmful about having influencers who spread false information or who are just exaggerating their stories, because some people, sure, maybe they are natural. We can't prove that they're not, but like, do I think that they are being honest when they say that, oh, I was so out of shape a year ago and I made this transformation in a year? It's like, stop spreading that story. Yeah. Like, I don't care if you think you sound cool. You're making people, like, you're giving people a false impression of what's going to happen. And when they're like a year in and they don't look exactly like you do, they're going to wonder if like it's not working for them or if they're just not going to make it. Like, I think it's very detrimental when people do that, because it does set this bad precedent for like what's going to happen, and it gives people a false image. And also, I think that those myths about like working out, they're very detrimental to people who are trying to get in the gym, because honestly, like if you're just starting, you really shouldn't be worried about like the nuances of working out. You should just get in the gym, do what's safe for you, what's comfortable for you, or don't even get in the gym, because that's hard to do right now. Like, just go outside, go on a walk. Like, just don't, like, some people get so caught up in like, oh, well, what form of cardio is going to be the best for me? What workout should I do? I just don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything. And it's just like, just do something, because regardless of what you think, no, cardio is not going to make you instantly skinny. Like, and no, like, it's not going to kill your gains to do cardio. And if you lift heavy weights, you are not going to look like The Rock in a year. Like, we all wish, but that's not how it works. So I feel like, yeah, these like myths, I guess, they're very harmful because people like to overthink them.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with like why they have these terms, like they're like diet culture, and because I think they're mainly focusing on these influencers who are pushing like, do this tea or do my workout with no weights and you'll get toned. But how are you going to get toned if you're not lifting any weight? Like, like that's a myth in its own that people don't understand, and then they get mad because they're like, I've been doing your workout at home and nothing's happening because you're not lifting anything. But I think people need to focus on like you said, like start small. Just start walking in the morning. If you work, let's say 9 a.m., just get up like 30 minutes earlier, do a 20-minute walk, do a quick shower, and then get ready for your day. Like, just do something small, especially if you're like at a heavier weight. I feel like you should start small, because if you just jump into it, you're going to like, one, you're going to injure yourself, which could make things worse for you in the long run, and then you're not going to want to work out. Also, too, I feel like a lot of people don't know what they're doing in the gym, so it's nice to either find a buddy who already has been in the gym and will help you, or if you have the money, to get a trainer who can properly show you, like, this is how to be safe, because I think people don't realize that you can really injure yourself in the gym if you don't know what you're doing, because I've seen a lot of people that do things in the gym that I'm like, I feel like if you keep doing that, you're really gonna hurt yourself. Or people see these like people that have been training for like 10 plus years and they try to do what they're doing. And I'm like, maybe you should chill. Like, don't worry about how much weight the person next to you is lifting and focus on yourself. Because that was one of my big things when I first got in gym. I wanted to like outlift people that were in my range, that I thought were like in my range. But I was like, well, this person has a lot more muscle than I do. So now I'm just focused on like some days, even like myself, like I can't lift as heavy as I did 3 days ago because I'm just like tired and my body isn't, like, you just need to see how you feel. It's not always like you have to be super consistent, like it has to be higher every time. Like, you just need to focus on like long-term goals. Like, what is going to help me be consistent 3 years from now is what I think. Like, how am I not going to hurt myself now, especially that I'm getting older? Like, I feel like you need to focus on like, what is going to work for me for long term and what's not going to hurt me but help me. And I feel like that's the problem with influencers, because they create this image of like this is how you should do it and this is the only way, when it's really like, this is how I do it, but here's some other ways that you could be successful in the gym or with your diet. And I feel like they kind of just push one thing only. And then everyone that sees them or follows them, they're like, well, he said this is, or she said this is how to do it. And then I think it's for guys and girls, because like guys want to look like these other dudes, and they're like, well, these guys are so muscular and this is what girls like, so this is what I'm going to do. But then the girls are also like, well, guys like small girls, or they like girls with a little bit of muscle but not too much. Like, you need to focus on what makes you happy, because it doesn't matter what the people next to you care about, it's what you care about. And that's why I think it's important, like, who you follow. Like, I don't follow anyone that promotes those kind of things, because I think it's detrimental, and I don't want to give them more power to keep influencing other people with information that I know is wrong. I rather follow people that are telling the truth and being like, it sucks to hear, but this is going to take a long time. It sucks to hear, but you're starting at a lower level. You can't compare yourself to someone that's up here. So it's going to take you maybe 5. You can't get that 6-pack. And I know, as much as people think it's like, oh yeah, I can get a 6-pack. Like, I was like, I've been training for a year, like consistently. I've been training since junior year of college, but for consistently, I've been a year. And I can see them in the morning, but that's it. Then they're gone. But it's not even a 6-pack. It's like, also, people don't understand genetically, not everyone can get the standard 6-pack that everyone's talking about. So stop focusing on like the aesthetic and the look that everyone else has or wants, and start focusing more on like what's healthy and what's sustainable for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, like, when it comes to like you said, like starting very slow and not getting overwhelmed, but also not hurting yourself, I think a lot of people kind of like, sometimes if they're like scared, they're like, oh, I don't have anyone that I don't know anyone close to me that could take me to the gym, or I don't want to hurt myself. But the thing is, it goes back to like the ease of information, the ease of access. Like, people do just want something easy. And so a lot of the time people will lean more towards influencers who just give them like terrible advice because it's easy. But there's so many good resources, like on YouTube alone. You can just type in like upper body workout and you will find countless videos, and you can go through and very easily, based on views, comments and stuff, see who's giving good information, whose stuff seems legit. Like, if people are commenting and they're like, this is a great workout and it didn't hurt me, I don't know, like, you can easily find workouts that make sense. And you can look at the comments to see, like, if someone says like, hey, I watched this video and I know what I'm doing, this is terrible, don't try this, then you know not to. Like, it's just a matter of putting in a little bit of effort. What I used to do when I first started going to the gym was I would just literally look up like, okay, today I want to work out arms, some nice arm workouts for beginners, and I would just play the video while I was at the gym with my headphones in and just do it with them. And I never got hurt. I didn't do anything extreme. Like, the information is there. People are trying to help, and there's free information for people who can't afford a trainer. Like, that is probably like the easier route in a sense, if you have the money, because then it's going to be tailored exactly to you. But you can get some of the knowledge yourself if you're willing to look for it, because it's out there. You know, there are people like Michelle McDaniel and all these other like educators who are giving out good information. They're giving out good resources. And a lot of these people will actually like sometimes try and offer like free and discounted services, because they do sell stuff. But the stuff they're selling, I mean, they obviously just have to make money, but their stuff is better than the influencer stuff, who are just trying to profit off of a market that is super profitable, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I do agree there's a lot of great resources out there, because that's definitely how I started. I was one of those people that didn't I didn't have a gym, so I didn't really lift weight. I just did whatever they did, and there's nothing wrong with doing at-home workouts if your goal isn't to get like a lot of muscle, like, because obviously you can't build a lot of muscle just doing body weight. You can get maybe a little, but I don't think you're going to get like the gains that you're seeing all these people saying you're going to get. Like, that's not going to happen. But I think those are good because it just teaches you form first. And I think that's important, is that you learn proper form, because if you don't, you're going to, like, I injured myself a lot when I first started because I didn't really know, or the way I was taught was like wrong. So it took me a lot of like trial and error. But I'm like, if you're older and you want to start, I don't think it's a good idea to just go for it, because I think if you injure yourself, it's going to take you a lot longer to recover, especially if you still got to work and do other things. If you have kids and like you're running around, it's not like going to be an easy transition. That's why I think it's important to, like you said, just put a little bit of research in and go online. There's a lot of people that are, I mean, you could, like, honestly, for real, read the comment sections, because a lot of them will either call them out if they know this is not good, or they'll be like, been watching this person for a while and they've helped me a lot, like, with certain things. So it just depends on what you're looking for. You could even just Google. You don't even need YouTube. Like, you can Google, and there'll be like the little gifts and stuff that will show you, and they'll have like a list of like, do this and don't do that. And even one of the things that I used a lot when I first started was Instagram, which I know is like more not great anymore because of all the influencers. But when I think it was like maybe 8 years ago when Instagram was first starting, that's where I used to get a lot of my fitness stuff, because there was actually a lot of good information out there. Now it's kind of like, you have to like pay attention. Like, does this person just pose in front of the mirror with a lot of teas? Then I probably don't want to follow them. Like, or, you know, is this guy just promoting this supplement over and over again? Probably don't want to listen to their advice. But there are a lot of good, like, I usually go towards more of like, for like, I follow like, or look at a lot of like women bodybuilders, because I'm interested in like, okay, well, how do they manage to get to their size? Like, how much, like, obviously you got to lift heavier, but I like to see the techniques and everything that they use. But there's also like, you have to learn what doesn't work for you. I can't deadlift, I can't squat, and I know that's something popular that everyone likes to do, but I can't because of my knees, and I pulled out my back a couple of times doing deadlift, so I just was like, that's not for me, I'm not doing it. So you just have to see like what works for you, because there's a lot of other things you can do for legs. I don't know why everyone just focuses on like a couple of moves and they're like, that's all you can do. Like, you go in the gym, there's so many options. And it's great too if you want to start on the machines, because a lot of the machines also will have tips and like show you how to do it. You can also just watch people at the gym. If I've seen people do stuff and I'm like, I kind of want to try that, so I just try it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, that's fine. You tried it and it doesn't work. But I just think you need to like focus on what feels good to you and what doesn't feel. Don't do something just because everyone else is doing it online. Do what makes you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, that goes back to like your original definition of health, right? And what we both said is it's how you feel. It's what you're getting out of it that should matter more than the aesthetic appeal. Because I noticed it just in myself, when I stopped caring about the aesthetics, when I actually just started focusing on like how I feel when I eat something, I've been able to eliminate a lot of things from my diet that I like once thought like, oh, I don't want to get rid of that. But then every time I ate it, I like really started to like focus on how I felt. And I was like, this makes me feel terrible. I'm not going to do that again. And it's easier when you're doing that both with your eating and in the gym, right? If you're doing something and you absolutely hate it, why would you do it again? Like, it's not going to benefit you to hate going to the gym, because eventually you're going to stop going because you hate it. But when I started like, and a lot of people like find this, when I started weight training, I fell in love with it. And I kind of like really wasn't the biggest fan of cardio for a while, because I was like, cardio is kind of boring. But like with anything, like, you don't have to just do one thing. I can't stand being on a treadmill. It's so boring. Like, I just don't like I'm sitting there, it's the same scenery the whole time, but I could go for a run outside. I could hop on my bike. Like, you can find what you love and do things you like. You don't have to do what everyone's doing. Like, a lot of people say like, oh, well, hit cardio, you can just put on a video while you're like on the machine and do a nice hit session. And I'm like, I hate treadmills. They're so boring. And you don't have to do something if you don't like it, because, you know, if you don't like it, you're not going to do it. But
yes, no, I agree.
No, yeah. I did just want to like, because we've been in this a while and I really want to talk about this today. I just wanted, because we were talking about mindset for a bit. And I know me and you both watched a video recently about like certain mukbangers who like how this food is like literally destroying their minds. And I just want to bring up this topic because like, yeah, there is like the health industry that is just like pumping in all this information. And it can seem really daunting from someone who's not in the industry. Like, what do I do? What's right? And then there's this whole opposite side where there are people who are just like mukbanging like crazy, eating 10,000, 25,000. I've seen like 100,000 calorie challenge videos. It is the most absurd thing. What are your thoughts on the whole mukbang culture?
Yeah, mukbang. Okay, so I watch a lot of reaction videos, and I've heard a couple things that how it started was a lot different than how Americans have turned it into. So I'll just comment on like the American version of the mukbangs.
Yeah.
And I think it's really insane. Like, it's really insane that people make money off of just sitting there and filling a table this big with food and just sitting there and eating it and just talking nonsense. Because most of the time when I've watched one, whatever they're saying is just like pure nonsense. Like, I don't know if people are watching it just to watch them eat, because I'm like, I don't feel like anything they're saying is beneficial in any way or even entertaining to me. Yeah. But I just think that it's definitely some form of an eating disorder. Because I was like, I feel like before YouTube became popular, that was like a eating disorder, was binging. That's an eating disorder. And I was like, that's what these people are doing. They're binging. Even if let's say the ones that are smaller and they're like eating a lot, you have to like binge, and I mean, not binge, you have to like not eat the whole day just to be able to binge like that and then be fine. But like literally you're only eating one meal, you're engorging yourself, and then you're like so full you can't even move. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to go on with my day. Like, I don't even know how these people are functioning. And I just don't think it's like a normal process to tell people like that kind of eating is fine. Like the foods they eat, I don't really have a problem with, because I was like, everybody eats them. But I feel like if you're going to eat something like that, eat it in moderation. But I feel like these people are just going to an extreme level of some sort of eating disorder, because that's not normal to want to eat that much food, especially like when I see, because I know one that's like the ones that are really popular are the ones when the bodybuilders and the healthy people do, because they're smaller and people like watching them eat a lot. So I'm just like, I just don't think that's a good image to put out either, because you're making these people think like, oh, I can look shredded or like as muscular or toned as this person and eat that much food. That's not possible. I was like, dude, if I eat that much, I'm not even going to be, I don't think I can even eat that much at one time, but I don't even think I'd be able to sit down, because I would just have to lay down for the rest of the day. I don't understand how people physically are able to do that.
Yeah. And yeah, you bring up a really good point. I have so many thoughts around like mukbanging in general, but when influencers or educators or people who are just claiming to be in the fitness community or are in the fitness community do this kind of stuff, I think that can be in some ways even more detrimental than just some random person doing it. Because like you said, like these fitness people, they're spreading this image of like, yeah, you could still be as fit as me, and look, I only do this every now and again, so it's okay. And I don't think anyone who truly cares about their fitness in the sense of like they care about their genuine health, how they feel, would think that eating 10,000 calories in one sitting is at all okay. Yeah. Like that is literally eating disorder behavior. That's not something you want to promote. Like it's something a lot of people struggle with. And so I really, really don't like it when influencers make these videos and they say things like, well, the reason I can get away with eating this many calories is because I'm going to work out really hard for the next few days. And I'm like, that's also an eating disorder behavior. Like to eat that much and then try really hard to work it off. That is like, that's very not good for your mental health, to give yourself that mentality. Like, yeah, I can eat all this now and I'll just work out for like 5 hours later to make up for it.
Yeah. Cause that's another form of binging, but instead you're like exercise binging. You're like, and that's also a disordered way of thinking of how you eat, because you're just like, okay, I can eat 20,000, let's say 20,000 calories, but then I'm going to have to go burn those 20,000. You know how long and how much you're going to have to work out. And that's also, I don't think you should, when you're working out, I never focus on like, oh my God, let me burn 500 calories. Let me burn, like I never focus on my calories when I work out. And that's just another thing that's unhealthy. I feel like if you're going to teach people, I can eat 20,000, but I'm going to go work it out. Like, no, when I eat, like, I don't like to call it a cheat meal. When I eat something that I don't make at home or eat a lot of something, I don't focus the next day on burning it all off. I do like to like eat heavier. Like, let's say I'm going to do a leg day. We usually eat a heavier meal before, just so I have the energy to push the weight I want to push. But I never focus on like, if I eat this much, I'm going to have to go on that treadmill for 3 hours. That's not healthy either. And I feel like that way of thinking, like these mukbangs kind of promote that. They're like, oh, well, I saw this person do it and they're fine, because that's not good for your mental health. And also it's not good for your body to just be like, I'm going to make you eat all this food that's going to make you feel like shit. And then I'm going to make you go like run for 3 hours. Like that's not
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's the worst when people do that stuff. Like as an influencer, yeah, I think that it's obviously people do it for the same reason that influencers exist in general. It's profitable. People want to watch these mukbang videos right now. And we've talked about this before, where at one point we used to watch these videos.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I get why people watch it, but I just don't get why they're able to make money off of those kind of things. Because I don't think it's something that's healthy and that people should be pushing. But at the same time, then you're like, okay, but what about all these teas that people make money off of and push? Like, it's just profitable to make things easy or look fun. basically.
Yeah.
People just, I don't understand the obsession to watching it all the time because there's so many out there. I think the only mukbanger I did used to watch was Stephanie. But everyone else, it kind of, because at least to me, hers were like interesting and entertaining. Yeah. But I feel like some of them, because I watch reaction videos to some of the mukbangers, and I just listen to them, and I'm like, I don't get why people are watching this. Like, they literally just, it has to be because they like watching people eat, because that's the only other reason.
Yeah, and
watch that.
I think it was very different because I also, at one point, I watched him, but it was because when I started watching, this was a while ago. I know it was a while ago we both did it because Stephanie doesn't make that content anymore. Yeah. But like, when it first started happening, it was just kind of interesting. It was like, that was not something people saw before. Like, why is someone eating like 10,000 calories and what? Like, it was just bizarre. I was watching it because I was like, what? Someone can do this? Like, I really only watched Eric the Electric because I don't know if you've watched his stuff before, but he is probably one of the most intense and like hard to believe mukbangers in the world because like he very commonly does like 25,000 plus challenges. And I remember when this started because like I don't know the exact history of doing mukbangs and stuff, but you remember when like before it was called a mukbang, there was just a 10,000 calorie challenge. Like everyone was doing it. Yeah. They were just trying to see if they could eat 10,000 calories in one day. And somehow that turned into people eating more than 10,000 in one sitting. But I just always like, I watched them because most people couldn't complete them. And so when I was watching them, I was just trying to see if someone could do it, you know? Because a lot of the people I watched, they would fail. They couldn't eat 10,000 calories in one day. And yeah, so that's just how it started. Right? Like it was just interesting. But now people do this very regularly. And I find it uninteresting and just like, it's so detrimental, like to watch someone do this and to put out a video every week or every like few days, because some influencers like once a week they'll post one of these. Some people it's like almost every day. That is just so beyond like, that's so beyond bad for you. I don't know why people are watching it. You're watching someone, especially, and we're allowed to name drop, so I'm just gonna say it. Nikocado Avocado and his videos, you literally see him go from being seemingly happy, healthy, focused on a certain lifestyle that he was proud of, into like you watch him devolve into someone who you really don't know if his content's a joke anymore. And that's scary to watch, you know?
I 100% agree. Because I feel like when he used to make his vegan videos, he seemed more normal. He seemed like something was a little off, but I was like, most of the YouTubers to me seem like that. So I was like, okay. I didn't really watch him until I found out about this. So I went back and like would look at them. But it is insane to watch like his progression towards how emotionally unstable he's become. And it's because if you look, everything he eats is not just like eats a lot, but he eats a lot of like processed foods from fast food joints, or he like adds all these weird combos. I don't know if you saw like the hot Cheeto one.
Yes, like, the giant one.
And I was just like, that's just not, over time your body is just gonna, it's just gonna ruin your mental state, because the food that you eat impacts how you feel, because your gut impacts how you feel. So the way that he was eating was so bad. I think when he was like, because I think he started with some vegan mukbangs, and I think because he was eating like whole foods that weren't like super processed, that's why he wasn't, you know, maybe as crazy as he has become. But I feel like the biggest problem to me with these mukbangs is that they teach people, you want to eat something junky or like something considered a junk food, you have to do it all in one day and you have to do a lot of it. When it's like, I just finally got my Girl Scout cookies because I ordered them before all of this happened, and then I finally got them. I just include them like 1 or 2 cookies after lunch, or 1 or 2 cookies here, and like on my Friday fun day, I just eat as many as I feel, and then I'm done. I don't feel like you need to be like, oh my God, I can only have cookies one time and I have to eat them all at the same time. I can't like incorporate it throughout my week or incorporate it into my calories. Like, you don't have to be crazy about it. And I think that was the video, Michelle made a video about mukbangers and how she showed foods that she likes to include in her diet, and she does it like slowly, and she measures it out, and she feels like satisfied and not like crazy like she needs to eat the whole bag because she ate a full meal before and then had a little bit to like satisfy her craving. I was like, that's how we should teach people, not to be like, you want that, you better eat the whole bag and then like you're done.
Yeah. And that, yeah, definitely. And that's why I think mukbanging is so dangerous. It's a mentality that you're promoting. You're not just promoting like, okay, yeah, I eat really bad food once a week. Like, you're promoting this detrimental mentality around food, that like food is like this kind of sacred thing, that like junk food in particular is this sacred thing that you're not supposed to eat it. It's taboo. So when you do eat it, like make sure to make the most of it. And it's just,
exactly.
It's so bad when people do that, especially because there are a lot of people in the mukbang community who, and this is something actually we talked about the other day together, how like mukbanging has become a trap for the people who make these videos. Because if you started your channel on mukbangs, if you are famous for it, then like if at some point you realize, yes, this is unhealthy. This is one, I don't know how people do this. That shit is expensive. Can you imagine eating that much food? Like that's gotta be so expensive. But I mean, I guess they're profiting back. But if you build your brand on eating terrible food and at some point you decide you don't want to do it anymore, it becomes even harder than for the average person to fix your eating habits. Because most people do, like if you're eating junk food primarily and that's why you're like overweight or unhealthy or lethargic or whatever it is, like if you have let's say you have something like, I don't know, maybe you have like a diabetes problem because you eat a lot of sugar and stuff. If you're eating these really bad foods that gave you that problem, it's going to be even harder to get rid of that problem because these foods are addicting. And mukbangers are not immune to that feeling. Like the food is addicting to them too, just because they're sitting there and eating 10,000 calories. I mean, obviously it's addicting to them because they're going to do it again. But if they decide one day they want to stop, they're not only battling a food addiction, they're battling a food addiction and the profit they know they're going to get if they give into it. So what's going to make them not want to do it? Like, I want this thing because I have like a bodily addiction to it and I'm making money. Like, why would a mukbanger stop, once they've started?
I think, yeah, because I've actually watched a couple of reactioners that they talk about these two people in particular. I don't really remember their names right now, but that they have, like, they keep trying to stop, but they can't because one, they're making money off of it. But at that point, it's like you said, you're addicted because these foods are created for you to want to keep eating it. That's how they make money. That's how they're profitable. They make sure that it's palatable and that people want to keep eating it. And that's the problem, is that once you eat it that many times and you're always eating this, like your body every day, you're doing this. And some of these mukbangers upload every day. So that's all you're eating. Your body is just going to crave that and you're just going to keep eating it versus somebody who eats it in moderation and knows how to like control that they're not going to eat the whole bag of whatever they're buying. Like even me, like I can't buy, like my favorite thing is chips. I can't buy a bag because I know I'm going to finish it. Like unless I buy the little like small packs, I know I'm going to finish it. So I just don't even bother with it. That's what I'm saying. You have to be able to control yourself. Like you need to have willpower. And if you're addicted like that heavily because that's all you eat and you're making money off of it, I don't see how you're going to stop. Like I don't understand the mindset, or like you're going to have to be very strong to give up your money, your income basically, and create a new lifestyle. Like it's just detrimental to start going down that path because there's kind of a hard time to get out of it.
Yeah. Mukbanging is just as much of a trap as like the diet culture we don't like to talk about. They're all traps to trap people in the system and to bring new people into it. And we were going to talk about this more in part 2. So I'm not going to talk about it like too much now because we are kind of low on time. But we were going to talk about like how the system is essentially like especially here in America, but this is worldwide at this point. The system is set up so that unhealthy living is easier. It's the fastest, it's the most available thing. So like, yeah, I mean, these mukbangers don't have it hard to start. Like it's not that hard for them. Yeah, in my eyes, when I see someone do mukbang, I'm like, that's so expensive, but actually it's probably not. Just fast food is ridiculously cheap sometimes. And like, if they're making that much money off of it, it's probably so easy to start a channel like that.
It's probably very easy and profitable, especially if you have a certain aesthetic. Like if you look good and you start doing that, even if you're heavier, because people do watch a lot of heavier mukbangers, which to me is kind of like crazy, especially because my one obsession for a TV show is My 600-Pound Life. I love watching it because I just love, I don't know, I'm like obsessed with watching it only because I feel like, to me, it's crazy to watch that they, even though most of them are on the verge of death, they literally can't stop. That's how food addiction is real. Just like any other addiction, it's something that they've been doing for so long. It's like they're just addicted and they need professional help. So that's why I like watching them go, because some of them do amazing and they blow your mind, and then some of them just keep going and they can't. Like they even know they're like, the doctor has told them they're gonna die and they still can't. So that's crazy to me that that kind of stuff is considered sad and people don't want to watch it because they're like, oh, that's hard to watch. But then they watch these mukbangers who are also going down the same path and they're like, oh, this is entertaining, this is fun, this is good. No, it's not. It's the same thing. They're slowly killing themselves, because how long can you possibly live engorging yourself with foods that are made with all of these bad things inside of it because it's super highly processed and it's made to be palatable. But then people say that, let's say like weighing your food and counting calories is, what do they call it, detrimental?
Yeah, toxic.
But then people eating 20,000 calories is not disordered eating. I don't get the logic. I weigh my food because I can eat like the whole bag, like I said. So it helps me moderate because I don't have intuitive eating. Like people like to say they can intuitively eat. I can't, because I broke that because I was also addicted to food and then I had to break that. So it's like with anything else, you have to figure out how to manage it. So I don't get how that is disordered eating, but then these mukbangers like, that's good, that's fine, like eat what you want, eat whatever. Like, no, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, people just like to put a certain bad label on things that they don't like. But just in the interest of time, I want to jump into my last question for you. So given that we've talked about a lot of different aspects, and we're going to talk about more in part 2, just get excited for that if you're listening to this. But as far as how the industry is today, what direction do you hope that the industry continues to go in or dominates? Like what do you hope wins out in the health industry? What do you hope is going to come of it? And what advice would you give to someone trying to get into the health industry? Like not in the industry, but someone who's trying to get into health and is influenced by this industry.
Well, I'll start with the first part. Where I hope it goes, I hope that less of the detox teas and less of promoting certain supplements are going to change your body, and less of these false narratives that are being given out. Kind of people maybe educate themselves more and this starts dying out. Like these people don't make profit because people are getting smarter and becoming aware. And I'm hoping that more educators come out, like people who are certified or have been doing this for years. All the people that I watch are certified in something and have been training people for years, or they're a nutrition coach or something, because I feel like those people have seen it for so long and worked with it for so long that they can help navigate you in the right way. So I hope more educators come and more people start doing their own research, so that these other places or these other things that they're promoting start to die out on their own because people don't believe it anymore, aren't buying it. That's what I'm hoping. But to anyone starting out, I definitely say do your own research. Don't just follow what your favorite influencer is saying or what other people are doing. It took me a long time to do my own research. I eat a certain way because that's what makes me feel good, even though a lot of people don't agree with some of the things that I feel like I do. I just do it because it feels good for me. And I also feel like I found what works for me for working out. I just think you need to focus on yourself. Like research, Google, YouTube, whatever you want to do. Watch a couple of things, watch a lot of things, and make your mind up. Or just and start small. Like honestly, my best advice for anyone who's never done anything for nutrition or working out would just be to go on walks, and also just keep a journal. Write it. You don't have to write the calories. You can go back and do that later, but write everything you eat just so you can see for a week. Write everything down that you eat for a week and monitor it and just see oh wow, I didn't realize I was doing all these drinks throughout the day. Or wow, I didn't realize that I ate this much of that particular food all the time. Just so that you can see because I do it all the time whenever I feel like I'm coming off track. I just write down what I'm eating and I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that I was doing that, just because it becomes a habit and you don't start to realize things. So you need to see it. We're visual people, you need to see. But I feel just start slow. Don't stress out. Don't weigh yourself every day. That's not healthy and it's not going to make you feel good. Just focus on how you're feeling versus your aesthetic.
Yeah, I like that. And the only thing I'd add to that is that my personal thing, and this is the biggest thing for me, is I think community matters a lot. So when someone is I also hope that the industry goes into more of the direction of educators and people who are promoting healthy lifestyles and good choices and good mindsets. I really hope that's going to be the dominant, when people go online and look up fitness stuff, I hope that dominates their feed. But for anyone who's trying to get into it, just remember that your community will impact you so much. The people you surround yourself with will make this journey either way harder for you or way easier. If you're surrounded by people who are just constantly not trying to better themselves in a sense. Like they don't care at all about their health, and they're like trying to, a lot of people tend to project and they'll keep you down. But if you surround yourself by people who also just want to feel better and be healthy and are willing to grow with you, that would like make the whole journey 1,000 times easier for yourself, because you'll also be able to learn together, share your information, and just give each other good resources and make it easier than just you sitting there trying to do it all on your own. Support from your community is everything.
Yeah, that's a good point. You need people.
Yeah, but we were going to talk about that more in part 2. So, you know, come back for part 2 if you want to hear our thoughts on that.
Yeah, do it.
But thank you for being on with me today.
For inviting me. It was fun.
It was fun talking about health with you. Yeah, this was the Let's Talk Health series. And, you know, I'm going to link some stuff in the description. So if you want to, like, I don't know, reach out, ask questions or something, feel free. But otherwise, thank you for listening. Peace.